This is a quick overview of rates, ratios, and proportions. A ratio is when you compare two quantities. We set it up as a fraction. You can also write it with a colon. You can also write it with the word to, like if I wanted to say I'm comparing A to B. All right? The two things that we are comparing have to have like units. So I have to be able to count them in the same way. Ratios that have the same comparison, ratios that look the same are what we call equivalent. When you have two ratios that you set up as being equivalent, we call that a proportion. You've called it equal fractions. So 1/12 is the same thing as 2 to 24, or I can say 1 is to 12 as 2 is to 24. Okay, those are ratios. Here's a ratio problem. It says the ratio of the number of bones in a human's ear to the number of bones in the skull is 3 to 11. There are 22 bones in the skull. How many bones in the ear? So let's see. It said the ratio of the bones in a human's ear, so we're putting ear on the top, is 3, to the number of bones in the skull. So we'll put skull on the bottom, which is 11. So 3 as to 11 as, now when I go to set up the equal ratio over here, ears needs to go on the top, the number of bones in the ears need to go on the top, and total bones is down here. Okay? And then we can let that be an X up there. Now, in this case, we can just look. What times 11 will give you 22? That's going to be a 2. And then multiply the top by 2. And that means there are 6 bones in the ear. Okay? A rate is the ratio of two quantities with different units. For instance, miles and gallons. Okay, rates are usually written as unit rate. A unit rate simply means that the denominator is 1. So 17 miles in 1 gallon is 17 miles per gallon. Okay, you get that by dividing. So you can take any rate and convert it to a unit rate by dividing the denominator into the numerator. A German flipped a pancake 416 times in 120 seconds to set a world record. Now, do you want to know how many flips per second or how many seconds per flip? How many flips per second? So we're going to put flips on the top, which is 416, and we're going to put seconds on the bottom, which is 120. It's asking us to find the unit rate. Remember, the unit rate means that the denominator is 1. It asks us to round our answer to the nearest hundred. So very quickly on the calculator, we're going to take 416 divided by 120, and that's going to give me 3.46 repeating, which rounded to the nearest hundred would be 3.47 flips per second. Okay, now dimensional analysis I think is one of the neatest usages here of rates, and we're going to convert from one rate to another. To do that, we use what's called conversion factors. I make little boxes for my conversion factors, and I'm going to give you an example of this. This is a great tool to use in science. Let's say that you are traveling at a rate of 70 miles per hour, and you want to see how many feet per second that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of what I call conversion boxes here. Okay? And it's all about changing the words. So I want to change from miles to feet. So the first thing I have to ask myself is, do I know any kind of conversion? Well, I know that 5,280 feet is the same thing as 1 mile. Okay? So I'm going to write that as a fraction. I can decide how to put that. I have miles on the top here, so I need the word mile on the bottom. So 5,280, that's an 80, feet is 1 mile. Now because of this, it's all going to be multiplication. The word miles cancels out with the word miles. Miles on the top cancels with miles on the bottom. Okay? I'm left with feet. That's what I want to have out here. So I'm good when it comes to that. All right, now let's go from hours. I want to change hours into seconds. I don't have to do it all in one group. I can say, you know what? I know that 60 minutes is the same thing as 1 hour. Okay? The word hour is on the bottom, so in this conversion, the word hour needs to be on the top. So 1 hour is the same thing as 60 minutes. The word hour cancels with the word hour here, and I'm at minutes. So right now, I'm at feet per minute. I also know that 60 seconds is the same thing as 1 minute. Here, the word minutes on the bottom. So minutes going to go on the top. 1 minute, 60 seconds. All right, again, the word minute cancels out with the word minute, and I'm left with seconds. So now I just work it out. I multiply 70 times 5,280 times 1 times 1, 369,600. Multiply across the bottom. 1 times 60 times 60 is 3,600. And then I want to make this a unit rate, so I divide top by the bottom, and that's going to give me about 102.6 repeating, so we'll say 102.7 feet per seconds. Okay? All right. When you have a proportion, you have two equal ratios. The A and D and the B and C are what we call cross products. You can solve this by using the cross products property. We call this cross multiplication. Okay? So we cross multiply. Lots of times you see it set up like 2 is to 5 as x is to 12. Okay, you would cross multiply and solve the equation. A very common use of this would be a scale drawing. A scale drawing is a ratio between a model or something that's smaller compared to an actual thing. Okay, a map is a very good example of a scale drawing. You'll look on a map of the United States, and you know the United States is not as big as a piece of paper, but there'll be some kind of scale over on the side that says, you know, a half an inch is 200 miles. So we're going to use that. A contractor may have a blueprint for a house that says 1 inch on the blueprint is the same thing as 3 feet. So they say a wall on the blueprint, so let's say I have a blueprint that looks like this, and I have a wall that measures 6.5 inches. What would be the actual length of the wall? Well, let's set up the ratio first. Ready? 1 inch on the drawing is 3 feet in real life. So if inches on the top here and feet on the bottom here, then I have to put inches on the top here and feet on the bottom here. So that would give me 6.5 inches is equal to X number of feet. I am going to cross multiply. It's going to give me 1x is equal to 19.5. In this case, there it is. So it's 19.5 feet in real life.